The latest update for Hurricane Sally has come out and continues to improve for South Mississippi, but still a dangerous developing situation, so stay tuned for the details coming up.
And we're live in Ocean Springs looking at conditions as Sally inches closer.
You're watching WXXV News 25, your local choice at 5.
Well, good evening, Gulf Coast, and thanks for joining us. I'm Taylor Rubach. And as Hurricane Sally is approaching, more rain and strong winds are moving into South Mississippi. Sally is now expected to make landfall early Wednesday near the Alabama-Florida state line. Here's meteorologist Ryan Mahan with a quick look at our forecast. Ryan, how's it looking out there in Mississippi?
Well, still looking about the way that it did yesterday, and that's because Sally is not moving very much at all. Just last time I checked, we're seeing about a 5-knot movement speed, and just looking here at the last 2 hours, putting my finger right here and what looks to be about the center of the eye, you can see it basically doesn't move in any noticeable way. So it's just been churning just immediately south of Mobile and southeast of South Mississippi, just churning all this moisture through. And because of the wind shear profiles, which is generally westerly, I'd say maybe there's a little bit of a northerly tilt to it, you can see that it's pushed most of this activity, all this mass, this convection off towards the northeast part of the storm, which tends to be the harder part of the storm anyway. Anyone that's lived anywhere where tropical season is important tends to know that. So it's still a very lopsided storm. There's more action on the west side than there was yesterday, but the further and further east this pushes, the better it is for South Mississippi. We're starting to see watches and warnings dropping off in our area. Rainfall totals are falling considerably, but as we zoom in here on just the South Mississippi area, you can see those outer bands, which have been churning kind of in the same areas. We've been seeing showers kind of radiating out from here from time to time, sometimes making it all the way to Pearl River and Hancock County. But other than that, it hasn't moved too far, and you're starting to see these little waves popping up here. Those are storm surge profiles, or at least reports there from areas where water, which I don't think that this one is probably water on the road unless that's up near Bayou Bernard. But you are seeing some areas where water is at least close to or has already been reported to be on or across the road there. So these are areas where you definitely want to watch out. Still saying that the rainfall, the storm surge are going to be the biggest threats that we'll be dealing with this, and that's all especially along the coastline. And because that has continued to push further and further east away from South Mississippi, even those storm surge totals, which were in the neighborhood of about 10 feet when it first started kind of inching towards us, has now fallen considerably and can still be dangerous, but is in a we are now in a much better position than we were then. So rainfall totals, well, here they are. We've seen a few of those bands kind of breaking away and moving across South Mississippi. Nothing measurable there, but as far as where Sally has just been churning, as we saw and pointed out over the last several hours, you can see those rainfall totals very high, upwards of already 6 inches down here in this red corner. But once you start getting closer and closer to this blue, you're getting into about the 1.5 range, and then less than an inch here. So rainfall totals, nothing impressive yet, but because of how slowly moving this storm is, these will add up over time, and we're now waiting for the winds to start. So as we take a look here at our wind profile, we're seeing them increasing on average, I would say about 5 to 10 miles per hour from where they were yesterday. Not too many places have gone up to the 10-mile-per-hour range just yet. Gulfport pretty much staying at about 10 to 15 yesterday, now up to 22. We're seeing it dropping off pretty quickly inland, but still very brisk. And here at the station, it has been windy pretty consistently. Like, there's been very few breaks in terms of that wind, and we're seeing it picking up, especially out near Petit Bois, where we have just a moment ago 45-mile-per-hour winds. Now it's reporting as calm, which is obviously an error. So we're starting to see now greater than tropical storm force winds starting to move in. So what can we expect with Sally still? I mean, this is a very slow-moving storm, so despite the fact that it appears like it's right on top of us, we still have several things that are developing. Now, it is weakening. I was looking at that yesterday. It started to trend in the later updates that it was dropping off from its Category 2 status and even continuing to weaken as it closed in on water. or on the land, which was very confusing to me. After looking at it quite a bit, it does seem that that shear from the west, which is kind of making it a little bit lopsided, is helping, but also because of how slowly it's moving, it's churning up the water. So it's taking the top very warm water that's been heated by the sun, that's just been sitting there for weeks, being heated and heated and heated, and now it's starting to churn that away, pushing that towards the coastline in a few areas, pulling it away, and now we're starting to see that colder water from under the surface coming up. They call that upwelling, and once you pull colder water to the surface, now that storm doesn't have the warmer water that it likes to fuel it and make it stronger. So it's basically either going to continue to weaken or stay about where it is. There won't be much chance for any significant strengthening going forward. The track has continued east. It's now all the way into almost eastern Mobile Bay. Another update to the east, or one or two updates just like that one, would put it almost to the Alabama-Florida panhandle line. So very interesting situation there. That's positive for South Mississippi. It has been trending that way for a while. So in terms of overall rainfall, storm surge totals, and those wind profiles, all of those are trending upwards as far as looking better for South Mississippi. But this is still developing. I mean, landfall is still a long way away, expected right around 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And this very slow-moving storm will continue to churn even after it makes landfall and passes through. So it's something we'll be watching through the night and well into tomorrow. So stay tuned, and I'll have more details coming up in the AccuWeather forecast in just a moment.